Hey guys, my name's Kittu. Nice to meet y'all. And I want to take a little bit of time today to talk about something that's really important to me: mental health. I spent a lot of time talking with friends, talking with family members. We all tend to struggle with similar things. And I'm 29 years old now. There's a lot of things in terms of adulthood that my friends and we've definitely grown through. And I think a lot of us outside of my friend group, in society, we learn through our experiences, but that just doesn't necessarily translate into healthy coping. So I wanted to help people I don't know, help them get the tools that they need in order to get better at coping with their situations. So the main topic for today is coronavirus. It's everywhere. We are in the middle of this pandemic. It is week 7, week 8, week 2,500,000,000 at this point, because there's been so many days we've been stuck in our houses. Everyone's going stir crazy right now. And there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lack of control. Another thing that some of us are dealing with is grief. And so, as we progress through this, and we come to terms with the fact that things aren't necessarily getting as great as they need to be in order for us to get out of our apartments anytime soon, here are some tips that I've kind of come up with. Definitely not discovered, but things that I've curated, if you will, to handle these mental health issues as they come up. Okay, so number 1, the first thing that I want y'all to think about is checking in with yourself. First off, healthcare workers, thank you. I know y'all are probably tired of hearing it at this point, but really thank you for protecting us, for making sure that we can sit in our apartments healthily while y'all go out and be the first responders. This thank you also extends to all people who still have to go to work because they are considered essential. Honestly, society would crumble without y'all. Now, when it comes to checking in with yourself, that means listening to yourself, listening to your body, asking yourself what's going on. Are you processing the crazy things that you're seeing? There's so much terrible stuff going on out in the world, and you're on the front lines of it. You need to check in with yourself to see how it's affecting you. Yeah, some of us are better at pushing through it than others, but at the end of the day, if you aren't 100%, if you are lacking in some sort of way, you're not necessarily able to function at your best. And if you're not functioning at your best, how can you take care of other people? You have to take care of yourself first. So, if you're not 100 with yourself, you can't help others. Which leads us to... Okay, so rule number 2, self-care. We just talked about checking in with yourself, and now self-care comes into play as the tool that you can use once you've realized that you do need a little bit of help, that you do need to heal a little bit. So, coronavirus in itself, whether you're an essential worker or not, it's stressful. It's a very stressful time. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of fear about what's going on. And taking care of other people can add on to this. So, when it comes to self-care, what I'm talking about is doing things that will bring you joy. Doing things that make you feel good when you're stressed out is a great way to practice self-care. Like exercising, like binging a show, baking a cake, doing whatever brings you joy. Doing a face mask. Dude, if I had a Lush face mask right now, do you know how great my pores would look? Unfortunately, I used all of it back in January and did not go out of my way to get a refill. That was my bad. But, we live, we learn. Next time I'm in a pandemic, I will definitely make sure I have my face mask to go. So, other things you can do. FaceTiming with friends. FaceTiming with your family members. If they do bring you joy, FaceTime with them. At the end of the day, drawing a bath, taking a nice warm shower, cuddling up with a book, whatever brings you joy, you do it. Something else to note. If you are getting stressed out constantly by certain people, by certain things, it's okay to cut those things out. For example, the news was stressing me out for a while with all the uncertainty about what's going on. So what I ended up doing, I told myself I can't cut it out totally because I knew I need to understand what's going on just in the media landscape for my job and things of that nature. But I told myself I'm going to check the news twice. Once in the morning, like a little bit after I wake up, and then once in the evening, probably around like 7, 8 o'clock, before I start to wind down and do my self-care routine. Limiting myself to only 2 times of engagement with media has really helped me so much. The same thing goes for cutting toxic people out of your life. If they're not bringing you joy and all they do is bring you down, honey, they ain't worth it. So, putting the phone down, napping, doing things like that. Sometimes our senses are just overloaded and we just need a break, and that's totally okay. Doing these little things, at the end of the day, they're going to help you heal. They're going to help you deal with whatever trauma you've been going through. We have to take care of so many people, whether it's coworkers who flub up, whether it's an elderly relative that we have to literally take care of, whether it's an infant that you birthed into this world. At the end of the day, if you can't be 100 for yourself, you definitely can't be 100 for others. So remember that the next time you try and take care of somebody. And now, so you want to focus on things that you can still count on. These include your friends, your family, your pets, your coworkers, things that are constants in your life. You also want to think about the things that you've done in your own environment, whether it be hydrating yourself, working out, keeping yourself safe by staying indoors. These are all things that you are doing to make yourself feel better. These are all things that are within your control. So when you focus on these sorts of things, what you're doing is you're diminishing the power that anxiety has over you. And that can help you heal. When you're focusing on these things that are still in your control, you're able to harness that anxious energy and channel it toward things that may be more productive, maybe more positive and self-serving. I could channel my anxious energy into writing a screenplay. Honestly, the amount of anxious energy that I do have inside of me, I could write a 300-page screenplay and still have time to write more. But instead, I've only written 1 page in the past 7 weeks. And I'm totally okay with that, because if that's something that I want to do at that moment, if that's going to make me happy, then I will do it. And as long as I'm doing something that I want to do, I'm going to feel accomplished. Reading a book, I started reading Pride and Prejudice, 1 chapter a day, because that I felt like was something that was attainable. It was a goal that I could hit. And that gave me more control over the anxiety that was gripping me so tightly. So, do things that make you feel accomplished. Celebrate the fact that you're getting out of bed, that you are putting your sweatpants on, that you are leaving your room, that you are turning on the TV, that you are cooking yourself something, or that you're seamlessing or ordering something. Take stock in those little victories, because those little victories add up, and those become those accomplishments that will help you understand the control you actually do have over this situation. Okay, so we're going to take it down a notch now. I know we've been upbeat and everything, but unfortunately, tip number 4 is actually about the grieving process. So, one thing that is a constant in pandemics of this nature, unfortunately, is death. Specifically, untimely death. And with untimely death, with death in general, we see a lot of grief. And grief is an emotion that a lot of people just don't know necessarily how to handle, and that's okay. But if there's anything I've learned over the past 3 years dealing with my own grief when someone really close to me passed, it's that you can grow through a lot of it if you actually sit down and deal with what's going on. Now, we're going through a pandemic, so not everyone is going to have that patience to sit there and actually deal with the issue at hand. And that's okay. If you are someone who wants to throw themselves into their work as a result, do it. If you are someone who wants to FaceTime with your friends and, talk through your emotions with them, do it. If you're someone who wants to distract yourself entirely and binge watch something, or even get away from everyone, spend time in isolation by yourself, ruminating about that person's impact on you, then do that. It's totally okay. Because remember, no two people have the same process of grieving. At the end of the day, whatever you do to get right with yourself, it's based on your experiences. My grieving process is based on my experiences. My grieving is probably very different than how you grieve, and that's okay. There should be no judgment in understanding how another person grieves, especially during this trying time. You want to do what makes you feel good, within reason. Obviously, if you're doing harm to yourself or to someone else, and if it is one of those issues, reach out to someone. There are a lot of hotlines, text message services, things of that nature. There are people on call who are willing to help you get better so that you don't harm yourself or harm someone else. We have to recognize that we all have differences in how we grieve, and we have to respect that. We're all different people. At the end of the day, we're gonna grieve differently, and that's okay. Okay, so this wraps up my first video ever for this series. I hope y'all like it. If you have any comments, if you have any questions, any feedback, whatever, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me on Instagram. The handle is Kittu Pannu. That's KITTU PANNU. Shoot me a message, let me know what you think, and please tune in for the next iteration of this. The next episode is going to be even better. Okay, take care.